Hey y'all, it is the week of November 9th. We are well into football season. Basketball starting to creep up. Carly, have you been watching any basketball games yet, or we're just not ready?
Honestly, we would have been, but with everything that happened with the Mavs this spring, my husband has taken a separation break from the Mavs, which are it's the only basketball team we watch. And so we have not watched any basketball. I have not watched any basketball. Now with the whole Mavs thing, not
Is
to jump right in, but with Nico Harrison getting fired, I don't know if that will change.
okay, for the girlies, who is Nico Harrison?
Nico Harrison is the general manager of the Mavs. Well, was, I should say. And he was the one that made what people are calling the worst trade in NBA history. He traded Luca away from the Mavericks to LA, which was the devastation of the century for all of the Mavs fans. And he has since been fired. So we'll see how the rest of the season goes. My husband will be the first to say, I will not be watching again until they get new ownership, until a bunch more things change. But I think this was probably the first step in the right direction with everyone who is a Mavs fan, watches the Mavs, just keeps up with NBA
So
talk
what
in general.
what made it a bad trade? Would you that it's such a good player who was from the Mavs from the beginning of his career and then they got nothing in return? Or was it just even if they got five of the best, it still would have been a devastating trade?
A little bit of both. So Luca was like our next Dirk. He was with the team. He wanted to spend his career here, which is what he would tell you, which is what he said. On top of that, he is like a once in a generation talent. He is insane. He opposed from the Mavs is having the one of the best starts to his entire career. He's averaging like 40, 50 points a game by himself, which is insane. So not only was he uber talented, like wildly talented. Why would we ever trade him anyway? He was the face of the Mavs. Everywhere you turn, he's painted on every building in Dallas. Like, this is our guy. This is our guy. He put everything the Mavs have on his back. And so it was devastating anyway that they traded him. But what they got in return, apparently, according to Nico, he was just hurt all the time, which was not true. He did have an injury at the time he was traded, but he wasn't hurt all the time. It was like the one big injury he had had all season, and he was out for a couple of weeks. But it was also the spring, and everyone's hurt when it comes time to the spring because they've been playing for so long. And who we got in return, one of the things we got in return was Anthony Davis, who was actually notorious for being hurt all the time. The first game he had when he got to the Mavs, he was hurt. He did not play.
Course.
Of course, of course. It was the most idiotic thing that anyone could have ever done. And people were so confused. I mean, we had a moment of silence whenever we found out. I remember where I was whenever I found out about the trade. It was insane. And anyone, no matter what team you cheer for, would tell you the same thing. And so it's just crazy that Luka got traded for what we got in return was, I mean, pennies on the $100 bills.
Yeah. I saw something where this kid who has his parents have season tickets to Mavs games, I guess he like flipped off the owner of the Mavs or something like that. And so his parents told him that he wanted to keep going to games. He's like either a teenager in college. He's not like a little kid. He had to apologize. I don't know if it was the owner. I don't know who it is,
Mhm.
but apparently security let him apologize, and they sat next to each other for a little bit during the game, and he was wearing a Lakers Luka jersey while chit-chatting, but I thought that that was so funny.
That's iconic.
I know. Also, they made it seem like, "Oh, security let him go through." They also said that his parents' season tickets are 3rd row back. Like,
Come on. Come on.
I'm sure we knew someone who was
Yeah.
like, "Hey, he wants to go apologize to you."
Yeah, 100%.
But I did think that was really interesting.
That's
because
interesting.
yeah, they were saying that he was even given the chance to, like, explain why he's so upset and, like, talk it through and all that. Like, I mean, people feel
My
strongly about it.
My husband had shirts made. They're literally in this closet back here that said "Fire Nico," and they were gonna wear 'em 'cause, my husband's family, they have had season tickets for years and years and years. Like, as long as they've been in Dallas, they've had Mavs season tickets, and they were all gonna wear them to the next Mavs game, but at that time, all security and stuff, if you had anything that said, like, "Fire Nico," or "We hate Nico," or anything
Oh,
about
really?
Nico or the ownership, they would not let you in.
Wait, really?
Yeah, and
That's so
so
interesting.
yeah, yeah, because a bunch
That
of
feels
people
a little weird.
it feels a little like a dictatorship.
Yeah, like, you can not like it, but also to not let people in because of that feels
Right.
it's not like I get it if it's something obscene, like,
Right,
something
right,
aggressive and inappropriate,
right. Like, not safe for families, but
but we see like, I mean, in college sports, people are chanting, "Fire the coach," like,
yeah,
I feel like that's just kind of part of the game.
yeah. It was
I don't
crazy.
know,
The
that's
spring was a
weird. I
crazy
don't love
time.
that.
No, I know, and I was just like, "You made this choice.
Yeah,
You did this, like, if you're gonna dish it, you have to take it." You knew
exactly.
what not only this would do to just the team in general, but the fans of Dallas who this was a beloved person in the Dallas community, and you just, like, overnight were just like, "Oh, poof, gone. Sorry."
Did Nico and Luca have a good relationship, or could there be something personal here?
I honestly don't know. I would love to know,
And
but
it just
even
feels so again, I don't know, it just feels weird. I'm like, there has to be more to it than just, like, he was injured a lot.
yeah. Well, and there was an interview with him the next, I think, game it was that he played, and he was showing his phone. I don't know if he was showing this on his phone, but his phone was cracked. And it was like, yeah, he was like, yeah, I threw my phone when I found out the news and it shattered my phone. And
That's so
everyone was like,
sad.
yeah, us too.
Collectively, the entire city of Dallas is at the AT&T store getting a new
Yeah.
phone.
Like all those U break iFix stores just had a huge spike in the DFW Metroplex.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh my gosh, I forgot about those stores. I feel like now I just, like, default to just getting a new phone, but remember, like, back in the day, like, you really had no choice but to go to like, they were always so sketchy, and you
Yes. And you had to leave your phone there, and they were
Yes,
like,
yes,
"Well, you can come get
exactly.
it in a couple hours, maybe tomorrow." And you were like, "Okay, guess I have to."
So true. Oh my gosh, you're right. It was like you were trusting them with your life, and you were just like, "Okie dokie, here's."
Like, "Here's all my information. Thanks for fixing my screen."
It's so funny. I completely forgot about that. I guess that was before too, like, the insurance plans
I guess
or
so.
the Apple Care. I feel like now Apple
Yeah,
Care is so generous, you're just like, "Okay." But
whatever.
yeah, or maybe it's also phase of life because now that I'm thinking about it, Apple Care, they only cover, like, one time of your phone breaking or something like that, and maybe that was probably, like, end of college, early out of college where my phone was being dropped way too much.
That's such a good point.
I'm like,
That
maybe
is
that's
such a
why
good
I
point.
had to go to those places because I don't remember the last time I did. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, so funny.
Okay,
Okay,
tell me what else is going on with sports in general,
miscel
miscellaneous. I know we have some soccer news, we have some F1 news. What else is
okay,
happening?
the soccer is less news, but more a fun fact that I learned. I had no idea. So I don't know much about Premier League, but I learned that so you have, like, the main teams in Premier League that everyone's heard about, like Manchester United,
Mhm.
Arsenal, all those. But then you obviously have all these other teams in there too, but they're not guaranteed to be in the league always. And I had no idea that you can get bumped down to a lower league if you don't have enough points, and then the people who are in the lower league get a chance to, join Premier League the next year, and I think that that is so fun, and I feel like it would be so spicy to do that to, like, American sports. It would be so interesting, and I feel like that makes it so much more competitive.
I'm so glad you brought this up because I was not like a fan of soccer beforehand, didn't really watch soccer, but my sister, her now husband loves soccer. And so he really kind of brought this new world into our family. And now we love soccer. And then I obviously got married, and my in law family, they have now taken a huge like liking to soccer and all of that stuff. And it's so fun because of stuff like that you were talking about, Monica. It feels so much more intense now. The bigger teams, like you said, like Arsenal, like
They're always gonna
Manchester,
be there.
they're always gonna be there. But the other teams that are always on the brink, it's so much fun to watch. And my husband and I, we went to London this spring, and we went to like a lower tier soccer game. And let me tell you, it was one of the funnest things we have ever done. It was so chill. The stadium was just in the middle of this neighborhood. We took the bus to get there. It was like 45 minutes outside of
Okay.
London. We took the bus. We were hearing all the like locals talk about all the sports betting they did on the game, which my husband loved. And then when we got there, it was so enjoyable. It was so much fun. We got such good tickets, and it was so nice to just not be advertised to. It was just like people coming to play a game they love, and we just watched it the whole time. Like during halftime, we literally watched them water the grass. Like there were no ads, there was nothing. We watched, there's like this older men's league. They played like a side game
Wait,
of
that's
soccer on the
amazing.
side. It was so much fun. And so to your point, it does feel a little bit more spicy because the teams are always like, oh, who's going to get relegated? Who's going to get promoted? That sort of thing. And so we have taken a huge liking to soccer. I'm so glad that you're interested in it now because let me tell you, it is fun whenever you pay attention to like the smaller teams that are either going to get promoted or going to get relegated. Like it's fun to watch those.
Okay, what do you remember the names of the teams that you saw?
We saw Charlton was where it was. So
Okay.
sat on like the Charlton side. I don't remember who they were playing, but my in-laws, they support the team Ipswich. They love that team. And so
It's such a
we
funny little
I
name.
know they're fun little like town names and stuff. And so and for I don't know where he finds it, but for some reason we can always find those games on TV. I don't know if it's like a random sports network that's on YouTube TV
Okay.
or whatever, but they always are like on Sunday mornings. And so it's so fun for us to like wake up and turn on Ipswich. Who are they playing today?
That's so fun. And it's fun too to, like, have those random little if you know, you know teams, I think, and just
Hmm.
be, like, kind of rooting for the underdog.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's fun too because I feel like there's been a recent increase of people interested in soccer and all of that stuff. And so, like Ed Sheeran, he is, I don't know what you call it. I don't know if he's an investor. I don't know if he's part owner of a team, but he's really interested in that now. And then there's the whole, I don't know if you've ever heard that Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney are
Yeah.
owners of a team, and so they have a whole Hulu series on it, which is actually very informative. I would recommend
Oh,
that show.
okay.
It's called Welcome to Wrexham. They have multiple seasons now, but they're also Wrexham is like a team that's always on the brink of either getting relegated or promoted, and so you just get
Oh,
to watch them
perfect.
see what they do with the team, how they've changed it, what they've invested in, all of that good stuff. So, it's actually really informative and we love watching it because we've had like I said, this new interest in soccer, and so it's really fun.
Okay, that's so good to know. I feel like I've heard of that docuseries or documentary, but I never really thought anything more than just like, okay.
Yeah.
But okay, I love this. And then the last of the miscellaneous little sports is Charles Leclerc, the F1 driver for Ferrari. He just launched a creative agency called SideQuest, and
Interesting, I
I
did not know this.
yeah, I it just happened this week, and so his it's gonna be him, his photographer, and then a, like, creative ad strategist, and so what they wanna do is be essentially a creative ad agency, but instead of, like, focusing on just someone being an athlete in a cool photo, they want to storytell and show
Oh,
people stories, and I feel like that
okay,
makes
what a businessman beau,
I
like,
know,
go
I know, and he
off.
just got engaged and oh my gosh, um, but he's doing all the things. It kinda made me think, is he gonna retire soon? But because just he's been doing so much personally, uh, even in the midst of the F1 season, but I thought this was so interesting because it really makes sense when you think about how F just globally, it was already a major sport, but it definitely became what it is in the US because of the storytelling aspect of Netflix. And
Mhm,
I feel like then even for Netflix, that sparked, okay, we need to do this for golf and tennis
mhm,
because people at the end of the day do want the storytelling piece. And it's so funny because we're in the influencer space. We understand the power of storytelling versus just selling, but I feel like brands still don't get it.
mhm,
And or brands want like an infomercial style post. I was
mhm,
talking to someone the other day about how a lot of times I turn down brand collabs because they give you a script.
mhm.
And I'm like, that's just not my personality to get on the camera and start talking and being like, I love this mug because it's so easy to carry and it just like no
Because
this
the
isn't
thing is
QVC.
right, and people now too that used to work, but just like even with Charles's new business, it's like we know now what is selling and like what's driving all of that engagement. And it's because people feel more connected to the people that are essentially selling it. And like the F1 series, I didn't pay attention to F1 at all before I watched the Netflix series. And now I'm like, turn on the race. I
Yep,
got to see what's going on. I'm following all of them on Instagram. Like, I'm following their wives, their
yep,
girlfriends, their fiancés. Like, it really does shape the entire industry versus just being like, "Oh my gosh, I'm Carly and I use this hair clip and you should buy it."
exactly.
And that's it.
Exactly. And I just wish I mean, brands will eventually get there because 'cause they'll have no choice, but I mean, even today, I was looking at a collab for a restaurant, and they were basically like, "These are all the things that we want you to say," and I was just like, "But this does this is literally a QVC infomercial."
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know.
Well, and 2, I think there's so many creators or people like Charles that are launching their own brands that understand that, that
Mhm.
will turn out maybe more successful than some of the other brands that now I'm not saying they're going to be more successful than like Nordstrom or something,
Yeah.
but they are getting really, really good return, really good engagement. They are successful because they understand who they're working with and who they're working with knows their audience, knows what's gonna resonate, whereas I think a lot of, like, the big corporate structures, they're just like, "Sell this and make us some money," and it's like,
Right.
there's so much more that goes into it.
Right, because I think if you see, let's say, an F1 driver, and he is in a magazine spread wearing a Rolex watch as an ad for Rolex, you you don't give that more than 5 seconds of thought. You're just like, "Okay, yeah, athlete advertising for Rolex,
And
cool."
it's just yeah, it's just like, "Oh, cool. They were in a magazine."
Whereas if there is a storytelling aspect of that, like, why did they choose to work with Rolex? Maybe their first watch that they ever bought or whatever to celebrate something was a Rolex or their great-grandparents had a Rolex. Something like that, all of a sudden you're like, "I didn't know this about this athlete, tell me more about this athlete," and now you're just, like, down this whole rabbit hole
Mhm.
and supporting that athlete, which, yes, like, there's the brand added revenue, but I think from what it sounds like with this agency is that it's about the actual person too, not just someone to, like, schlep a brand.
Right.
So we'll see. I'm curious.
I'm very curious to see where this goes for him. Like, go off, King.
Yeah. Okay, so have you learned any fun facts, tidbits recently that we need to know?
Okay, I actually learned one this weekend, which I didn't know. It feels really minuscule, but I just thought it was really interesting. But we were watching, obviously, football this weekend, and I heard the announcer kind of in the background. You know how when you're watching it, you can sometimes hear what's happening in the actual stadium? Like, it's
Yeah.
not the ref mic'd up, it's the announcer or whatever.
Yeah.
And he made the announcement that one of the players was wearing a different jersey, and he was like, "Oh, so and so is now gonna be in number," say he was number 87 and now he's number 94, I don't know. And I was like, "Why would
What?
he switch jerseys in the middle of the game?" I was like, "That's so weird." And so I asked my husband and I was like, Why would he just change jerseys? Like, did something get on it? Did it rip? Did he need a
Just
new
something get on.
one?" Yeah, I was like, "It feels like they
Just a
get."
little bit of ketchup.
Right, I was like, "It feels like it gets pretty dirty anyway," and apparently because there's so many guys on a football team, there could be where multiple guys are wearing the same number depending on whether they play on offense or defense,
Oh,
which is so weird, but I guess those guys are just really versatile and sometimes they play on offense and on defense, and so if you have, like, now don't come for me in the comments because I don't know if there's certain positions that can or can't do this. But for example, if you have an offensive lineman who wears number 56 and he also plays as like a defensive lineman and but you already have another defensive lineman that wears number 56 and so if they wanted to switch him to defense he would have to change his jersey and then they have to announce that to everyone of saying like okay number 56 is now wearing number 73, which is just so random to
interesting.
me. I'm like are
Well,
there more than 99 people on a football team?
I
Like
guess
you literally
so.
have
Yeah.
0 to 99.
Can you not have 3 digits on your jersey?
Great question as well. Could you have 104?
I guess there's not a lot of space for it, but I wonder if it's like an actual rule that you can't go up to 100.
Now, I do know that there are certain positions that have like a number range,
Interesting.
but I don't know if that's legal rules or just kind of like
Tradition.
unspoken. These guys are always these numbers, these guys are always like lower numbers, higher numbers. But again, it feels like you guys could just start off all wearing different numbers and we would be perfectly fine.
That's so interesting. So then I guess because they have to have their last names on the back, so I guess, like, they obviously know ahead of time who is, like, this dynamic type player, so they always just have 2 jerseys ready to go.
I guess so. It's so
That's
bizarre
so
to me.
weird.
It feels like so much more work than you would
Because
have.
why not just give him if you know he's a dynamic player like that, why not just give him a number that no one else has?
Right.
Because there's probably no more than 5 of them on a team at any given time, right?
Right. But I'm like, it has to happen often enough for them to have made the rule, know they need to
Yeah.
make an announcement, and for no one to even bat an eye. Everyone's just like,
Yeah,
yeah, this happens.
true. That's true. The batting the eye thing kinda tells it, right? Because if it's, like, this once in a blue moon thing, then people would be like, "Oh, whoa, this just happened."
Yeah.
That's so funny.
It's so strange. I was just sitting there, and again, I guess everyone's used to it because my husband was like, yeah, it just happens. And I was just
Huh.
like, why though? But again, goes back to I think one of the very first conversations we had is I ask so many questions and there are so little answers. And my husband's just like, you're asking great questions, but this is just kind of how it is. And no one really knows why.
That's so true. Okay, before we get into college football, because I feel like that's where, like, there's more juiciness, let's just talk about NFL real quick and how the Patriots are the top team in the NFL right now without Bill Belichick. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's just interesting to see the dichotomy of how successful the Patriots are doing once they got rid of Bill Belichick, or I guess depending on who you
Yeah,
ask. To Bill, it was mutual,
right.
separation. But they are. I looked at a bunch of articles because there's, not it's right now it's just based on records and stuff, and there's a few teams with the same record as the Patriots, but everyone's kind of lining up the Patriots to be the number 1 or one of the top teams in the NFL, and so it was just interesting to me to see the juxtaposition of how successful his old team is and the Patriots are doing so well and how horribly this season has gone for UNC and Bill
I stopped
Belichick.
paying attention to what's going on at UNC. I'm assuming they're still just not doing great.
It's just bad. It's just bad. I mean, there's nothing to pay attention to. It's so boring and it's just bad.
Do you think he's gonna coach next year for UNC?
I don't know. I think it depends on what their contract is with him because UNC's released statements, that said,
Mhm.
like, we support Bill and we're happy he's here or whatever.
Yeah.
But
I
I
feel
don't
like I
know.
give it one more season because I feel like if they were gonna fire him, wouldn't they have or parted ways, wouldn't they do that now in the midst of all the other firings and parting? It feels like parting of ways season.
Yeah, it really does.
Wouldn't they just, like, jump on board?
Yeah, I would assume so. I guess they're gonna give it one more season, but it also depends on, because everyone's got all those contracts that have that payout if they
Yeah,
fire
that's
him,
true.
so I don't know if they're like, "Well, we better just wait and see how he does because we don't wanna pay another $50,000,000 to a coach that we're gonna
Yeah.
fire."
Do you think that if he did become available, one of these teams that we talked about last week that need a coach would jump on it? Or
I
do you think
don't
people would be
know.
wary?
I think people would be wary, but I think it depends on how desperate maybe not the top teams are, because there's gonna be so many people, like, vying for those positions, but some of the mid-tier teams that also need new head coaches, maybe if
Yep.
he does leave UNC, it might not be a vertical jump for him to go to, like, Alabama or Ohio State or Indiana or something, but it could be like a lateral move and people just kinda trade on this level as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That'd be
But
interesting.
also, that reminds me, did you see that I know we talked last week about the head coach from LSU getting fired, but did you see that LSU is now saying that they're firing him with cause? And so, yeah, they're trying to say that they had valid reasons for firing him and trying to get out of paying him that settlement money.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if there's been like a full report, but that's the latest I saw.
But this makes so much sense because, like we said, like, the governor got involved in all this and being, like, taxpayer dollars and all that. So someone somewhere is like, "We don't have the money to pay him." I I guarantee you that's what it is.
It's gotta
Because
be.
yeah, they're probably scrambling on how to pay him or, like, to not pay him because they can't pay him.
Yeah, or he might be saying too, because I know we talked there's, like, a lot of stipulations on if they go somewhere else to coach, they
Oh,
get
yeah,
less money,
true.
and I don't know if he's just like, "I'm taking the money and running." And then
Which
now
is
Lu
what we've been saying.
which is I'm like, "Why would you not? We have been telling you guys this from the beginning. Why would you not take the money and run?" You would never see my face again.
I've done what I needed to do. I am going to go retire.
I don't know. Maybe Brian Kelly's been listening to this podcast and he's
Yeah.
like, "Yep, you know what? I should take the money and run." But now LSU's like, "Well, we don't have the money." Wait.
Right, that's so interesting, and so they're saying with cause there's cause, so but they haven't said what.
Mm-mm.
Okay. I
I
feel
think
like
they're
they
gonna
knew
do
that.
like a formal investigation, but I'm
My tin
curious to
hat
see what
my tin hat is on, and I feel like it's a way of trying to get out of paying.
100%. It's gotta be, you know?
'Cause, like,
Like what
what is the
else?
like, it would be such a coincidence for everyone to be like, "Fire him, fire him, fire him," just because they're doing bad, and then fire him,
Mhm.
and then 2 weeks later be like, "By the way, we actually do have a reason." I don't
Right.
know, the timing feels weird.
Right.
Versus if there were cause, you would probably put them on, suspension and investigate,
Mhm.
evaluate, and then let them go.
Curious.
We'll see.
We'll
We'll
see.
see.
We'll keep you guys updated because it is very curious.
Okay, what else in college football? So I think we have like pretty clear who like the top 4 teams are gonna be to wrap up the year, being Ohio State, Indiana, Alabama. I saw that all of those teams except for Alabama are playing unranked teams, which just makes me think, okay, like they'll coast through this week. But Alabama is playing Oklahoma, which could be a really interesting game.
Yeah, that'll be a really interesting one. I'm curious to see about that one. I mean, Indiana was looking a little testy against,
They almost
um,
lost, right?
they almost lost to Penn State,
Yeah.
which I don't know. We kind of wanted them to just to add some drama. Y'all know I'm just here for the drama. I'm like, oh, it would be crazy if they lost to everything that Penn State's been through if they finally pulled out a
Right.
win. But they won, so good for Indiana. But yeah, I'm curious to see how the rest of the teams play this week. I mean, Ohio State, they at the end of their game, they were putting in their second string quarterback to let him get some reps
Okay.
too. And it's kind of like that point with a lot of these teams where they're like, okay, we as long as we can get our business done in like the first 2, 3-ish quarters, then we'll let the second strings go in. We'll let them get some reps, put our 4 strings on the bench, let them get some rest,
Yep.
and hopefully just do what they need to do until the playoffs start.
100%. Yeah, because it's always so sad when you think like this team is going to just go all the way and then everyone kind of starts dropping like flies from injuries and things like that. And you're just, so yeah,
Yeah,
better to just like let those other guys come in.
yeah, yeah.
And then you mentioned Texas and Georgia are playing. Is that supposed to be an interesting game?
I think it's interesting because no one really knows what Texas is gonna do anymore.
I was in the elevator yesterday and I had a Texas sweatshirt, not a University of Texas sweatshirt on, but the new like park um sweatshirt
Oh my
that
gosh, I
has like all
want
the
one of
Texas stuff.
those.
Yeah. And so anyway, they like mentioned Arch Manning and how he was just like, yeah, who knows? Every week is just not what we thought it was gonna be.
Right. And I think there was, again, we talked about so much hype around him at the beginning of the season. And so now for them to just have like a big old fat up and down season like this, I think every game they play is kind of like, ooh, what are we going to do this time?
Are they playoff contenders or no?
I think this game against Georgia will be a good telltale sign. I don't think they're ranked in the top 12 right now from like all of the hypothetical, predictable rankings. But again, I think every game it changes for them.
Okay, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean,
I
and
wish them the best of luck.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to think if I had anything else. I did see that Texas Tech beat BYU, and from what I saw, that basically means that BYU is out of playoff potential. So I guess that is interesting with this time of year too, is that now we are seeing who just like was like maybes and now are just flat out no's.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too because in previous years, since there had only been 4 teams that made the playoffs, you basically had to have an undefeated season or you weren't going to
Yeah.
make it. There was no question. But now, with the new expanded playoffs and just with how the rankings are now and how all the records are now, there's only 2 teams left with an undefeated record. And so everyone is kind of having similar, like 1 to 3 losses and still fighting for their chance
Yeah.
to make the playoffs. And so
Which is how
this
like Texas could technically still
right,
get through. Okay.
right, and how BYU kind of fumbled the bag with their loss against Texas Tech.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. Is this the first year of the expanded playoffs or second year?
Second.
Second. Okay. And it's
Mhm.
here to stay?
I think so. Who knows what those crazy men that huddle up at the end of every year do, though. Yeah. Like, I don't know what they're gonna come up with this year. It's always something.
That's true. That's true. My gosh. Okay, so we'll see, but I'll keep things interesting. Is there
Yeah.
anything else we need to know for this weekend before we wrap things up?
I don't think so. That's kind of the craziest ones of this weekend. I think the closer we get to playoffs, the games are either going to be really high stakes or kind of just like, if
Nothing.
you want to watch, great. If not, it's fine.
That's so true. That's so true. All right. Well, glad we got this all covered. Let us know what questions you have, any fun facts you need, and we will talk to y'all next week.
Bye, guys.